I never thought a quiet lake could turn into a war zone. I never thought a woman with designer sunglasses and a fake smile could try to erase my property line. I never thought a simple morning coffee, on my own dock, would make someone lose their mind this badly. Yet there she was, every sunrise, shouting like she owned the water, dragging the HOA into every little thing, dropping fines, threats, letters, trying to drive me out, trying to take what was legally mine. She thought she could bully me. She thought she could twist the rules. She thought her plan was perfect. Until the day everything flipped. Before I tell you what she did, you need to know how this all started. Because the moment she stepped onto my pier, something inside me knew. This wasn't just a neighbor. This was a storm. And her first scream was only the beginning. Welcome back to HOA Stories. I am Mark. I live in a lakeside neighborhood in northern Idaho. I fix boats for a living. I drink too much coffee, and I cannot stand people who think the HOA gives them superpowers. If you hate HOAs, or if you ever wanted to push back, hit subscribe right now. Drop a comment saying BOOO HOA or anything you want. Share this video with anyone who ever had a crazy neighbor moment. Now let me take you into the mess Karen created. I was standing on my dock that morning. Steam rising from my mug. Lake flat like a piece of glass. My dog Ranger sitting beside me with his tail tapping the wood. It was quiet. That kind of quiet that feels holy. Then I heard heels. Sharp, fast, angry heels hitting the planks behind me. I did not even turn around at first. I already knew who it was. There was only one person in this whole neighborhood who walked like revenge. Karen. She marched up to me like I had stolen her birthday. Hands on her hips, sunglasses flashing, lips tight like she was holding in a scream. She did not hold it in for long. Get off my dock. That was the first thing out of her mouth. No hello. No morning. Just instant drama. I looked at her slowly. Mostly because I wanted to annoy her. Partly because I could not believe we were starting the day like this again. Your dock. I said it calm. Too calm for her liking. She jabbed her finger toward the boards under my feet. These planks extend past the HOA boundary line. You are trespassing on community space. Ranger lifted his head, looked at her, snorted, then flopped back down, which insulted her even more. I sipped my coffee. Karen, this entire dock is on my deed. The county has the map. The HOA has the map. You even have the map. So what are we doing right now? She stepped closer. Way too close. Like she was trying to intimidate me. Or maybe she liked standing close to men she hated. Hard to tell with her. The HOA will decide. She said it like the HOA was the Supreme Court. You always act like you can do whatever you want. Well, not anymore. I saw it then. The drone. Floating behind her. Black, loud, and extremely annoying. It was recording. Or spying. Or both. Classic Karen move. I nodded at it. New toy. She whipped around. Looked at the drone. Then glared at me again. The drone is documenting violations. You have been warned. I shrugged. I was drinking coffee. Not committing war crimes. She kept going. You cannot fish from here. You cannot keep your dog here. You cannot drink here. This is not a lounge. This is not a private club. This is not your... I raised one finger. Karen, everything you listed is legal. Property. Her jaw clenched, like someone had tightened a wrench around her teeth. Her sunglasses slipped down her nose. Her face went a little red, then a lot red. She hated being wrong. It damaged her soul. She pointed toward the house behind me. Then explain why the HOA letter says otherwise. I laughed. Straight up laughed. The kind of laugh you only let out when you know someone is lying. Or very bad at pretending they are right. Karen, you wrote the letter. I can see your email at the bottom. You forgot to change the signature. She froze. That second, where she realized she messed up. Priceless. Ranger sat up again, tail wagging, like he enjoyed the show. She stuttered. That's not the point. The point is the community is uncomfortable with you taking up this dock. I blinked slowly. Who exactly is uncomfortable? She hesitated. A tiny flick of her eyes. That gave her away. There was no community. There was only her. She wanted my dock. She wanted control. She wanted attention. She wanted something to fight. Some people need conflict like air. Karen was definitely one of those people. I leaned on the railing. That's funny. Because everyone else in this neighborhood waves at me. They bring their kids to pet Ranger. They ask me to fix their boats. No one has ever complained. Except you. She stepped even closer. So close I could smell the strong perfume she wore. The type that announces you from 3 houses away. This is not personal. This is about rules. And you break rules. Every single day. I looked down at my coffee. Then at her. Then at the drone still buzzing around her head like a robotic mosquito. Karen, if you hate me this much, just say it. It will save us both time. Her mouth opened, then snapped shut. She was not expecting that. People who like control hate being seen clearly. She straightened her shoulders, tried to regain her power pose. I do not hate you. I just do not trust you. You act like you own the lake. You act like everyone else is beneath you. You act like... I cut her off with a small smile. Karen, you want my lakefront for yourself. That is all this is. You want to extend your yard, build your own dock, and you think if you bully me hard enough, I will give up, right? She froze again, only for a split second. But I saw it. That was the truth. And she knew it. She glanced at the water, then at my house, then at the dock. Her eyes lingered a little too long, wanting, planning, measuring, like she already imagined it as hers. I stepped forward, just one step, not aggressive, just enough to unsettle her. Karen, tell me the truth. Did you really think you could take my lakefront? She swallowed, her throat bobbing, face still red, voice tight. The HOA will decide, not you. Then she spun around, yelled at the drone, follow, and stomped back toward her yard, muttering things under her breath. Something about violations, something about attorneys, something about ruining my life. I watched her walk away, my peaceful morning completely ruined. The lake felt quieter again, but not in a peaceful way, in a warning way, like the water itself knew things were about to get worse. Ranger nudged my hand, his eyes soft, almost asking me something. I looked down at him, and I wondered, how far was Karen willing to go, to steal something that never belonged to her in the first place? What do you think? Was Karen planning something bigger behind my back, or was this just the beginning of her craziness? I did not see Karen the rest of that morning, which was strange, because Karen usually lingered after a fight, hovering like leftover smoke after a bad firework. Instead, her house stayed quiet, too quiet, blinds closed, garage shut, no heels clicking, no perfume cloud drifting across the property line. It felt like the calm before something stupid. I kept thinking about the look on her face when I caught her writing her own HOA letter. She hated being exposed. People like her do not handle embarrassment well. They turn it into revenge. They turn it into strategy. They turn it into chaos. I had a feeling she was cooking all three. By noon I got tired of thinking about her. I grabbed my toolbox and headed to my shop behind the house. Ranger trotted next to me, tail wagging, nose sniffing the air like he was trying to read the neighborhood mood. My shop was my safe place. Smelled like engine cleaner and old wood. Had boat parts scattered on shelves. Sunlight through the window landing across my workbench like a warm stripe. I was halfway through fixing a busted trolling motor when I heard it. The sound of someone clearing their throat. Loudly. Fake. Annoyed. Official. I turned. There she was. Not Karen. Worse. 2 HOA board members. Mr. Collins. Tall. Skinny. Always dressed like he was attending a church service. And Becky. The neighborhood gossip with a clipboard addiction. They weren't smiling, which meant Karen had gotten to them already. Mr. Collins spoke first. Mark, we need to talk. His voice had that tone people use when they already decided you are guilty. I leaned on the bench. About what? Becky lifted her clipboard like it was a shield. About your lakefront violations. I blinked. Slow. Annoyed. Trying not to laugh. Violations. Plural. Already. Impressive. Karen had speed this time. I crossed my arms. What violations exactly? Becky tapped the paper dramatically. We received multiple complaints that you have been blocking community access to the shoreline, using the dock as personal recreational space, and harassing a neighbor. I almost choked. Harassing me. Harassing Karen. The irony could have fueled a generator. I rubbed my forehead. Okay. First, there is no community shoreline access behind my house. Second, the dock is literally on my deed. Third, Karen was the one who came screaming at me this morning. Mr. Collins lifted a hand, like he was calling for silence in a kindergarten class. Please, let's keep this civil. We want to avoid escalation. I exhaled. Long, slow. trying to keep my voice low. Then why are you both standing in my shop instead of checking the property records? Becky shifted, tapped the clipboard again. Karen provided us the records. Ranger barked once, sharp, as if even he was calling out the stupidity. I stared at them. The records Karen provided. Did either of you verify them? Silence. Not good silence. Guilty silence. I stepped forward, gentle but firm. Look, I respect the HOA's role, but you cannot allow a single neighbor to weaponize you over her personal dislike of me. Becky tightened her grip on the clipboard. Karen said you have been hostile. I laughed. Short, dry, humorless. Becky. Karen yelled at me so hard this morning she scared my coffee. Mr. Collins sighed. We just want peace in the neighborhood. I nodded. So do I. But you are talking to the wrong person. You should be talking to the one who keeps showing up on my dock uninvited. Another heavy silent moment. Then Collins spoke softly. We will look into both sides. He said it like he was not sure if he meant it. They left, walking slow, whispering to each other, clipboard bouncing against Becky's hip like a nervous tick. I looked down at Ranger. He looked back at me, tilted his head, like asking, why are humans like this? I scratched behind his ear. Because drama is free entertainment, buddy. And Karen loves being the show. The rest of the day I kept waiting for something to happen. A phone call, a drone, a scream, another unwanted HOA visit. But nothing came. Nothing moved. Not even Karen's blinds. It was unsettling, like stepping into a room where someone was hiding behind the door. Around sunset I walked back to the dock. Golden light hitting the water. The air soft and cold. Ranger running ahead of me with his tail swinging like a metronome. I sat on the end of the dock, feet dangling above the water, letting the lake calm my brain. But it did not last long, because across the water, on Karen's property, something flickered. A light, bright, white, blinking slowly. At first I thought it was just someone turning on a lamp. Then I realized the light was moving. Smooth, steady, mechanical. A drone. Another one. Bigger, sharper, newer. Probably expensive, hovering near her deck, facing my direction. I muttered, you have got to be kidding me. The drone zipped up, then down, then side to side, like it was scanning the area, recording, tracking, watching. Ranger growled, low, suspicious, his fur rising along his back. I held his collar. It's all right, buddy. Just Karen trying to make her life interesting again. But something about this drone felt different. It wasn't like the one floating behind her earlier. This one was controlled with purpose. Precision. It watched the dock. It watched me. It watched my house. Then, it tilted slightly, left, right, as if nodding, or acknowledging me. Then it darted away toward the trees. I stood up, skin tight, something crawling under it. This wasn't normal nosy neighbor stuff. This was something else, something planned, something she rehearsed in her head 100 times. I walked back toward the house. Ranger close beside me. Both of us looking over our shoulders without meaning to. Inside, I poured a drink, sat at the table, stared at the ceiling, trying to make sense of why Karen would send another drone. What she wanted, what she was building in her mind. Maybe she wanted proof. Maybe she wanted to catch me doing something she could twist. Maybe she wanted to scare me. Or maybe she wanted to create her own version of events. A version where she was the victim, and I was the criminal. People like her thrive on invented fears. They feed on imaginary threats. They turn calm water into storms, just so they can say, see, I was right. Chaos follows them like perfume. I leaned back, thinking harder, trying to figure out her angle. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered, voice cautious. Hello. A man spoke. Deep voice, sharp tone. Is this Mark? Yes. This is Attorney Lewis. I represent a client who has filed a harassment concern against you. My stomach dropped. Not from fear. From pure annoyance. Let me guess. Karen. He cleared his throat. My client prefers anonymity for now. I laughed. Hard this time. Is she also anonymous when she screams into my face? Silence. He did not appreciate the humor. He continued. She reports that you have been blocking her access to shared community resources. That you have threatened her. That you are using your property in an unsafe manner. Unsafe. Threatening. Blocking access. These were not complaints. These were accusations. Serious ones. Ones that could lead to legal trouble if the board was gullible enough. I spoke slowly, clearly, firm. Everything she told you is false. I have lived here for 7 years. With zero issues. She moved in last year. And since then she has caused conflict with nearly every neighbor. The attorney paused, as if writing something down, or trying to decide which side to believe. We will proceed with a formal notice. Expect documents soon. He hung up, just like that. Conversation over. Drama upgraded to legal stage. I sat there, phone still in my hand, fingers tight around it, heart thumping once, then steady again. Karen was escalating, and fast. She wasn't just annoyed. She wasn't just petty. She was actively building a case. A fake one, but still a dangerous one. Because in HOA world, perception often beats truth. Whoever screams first gets believed first. Ranger nudged my leg again. Soft whine. Like he felt the tension in the room. I knelt down. Scratched his head. We are in for a ride, buddy. She is not backing down. Not even a little. That night I barely slept. Kept thinking about the drone, the attorney, the board. Her face when she said, "The HOA will decide." She wanted this fight. She lived for this fight. She was going to push it until something snapped. When morning finally came, the sun rose slow. Sky a pale gold. Lake shimmering quietly, like it had no idea a war was starting. I stepped onto the dock, coffee in hand. Ranger beside me, trying to feel normal, trying to breathe. Then I heard footsteps. Fast, sharp, purposeful, walking toward me again. Karen, of course. I turned around, ready for whatever madness she had planned, and she smiled at me. A slow, sharp, chilling smile. Not anger, not rage, something worse. Confidence. As if she knew something I didn't. As if she held a card I wasn't expecting. She folded her arms, tilted her head, then said one sentence that made my stomach twist. "Enjoy your last days on this dock. You won't have it much longer." Do you think Karen actually found a way to take my dock, or is she bluffing hard to mess with my head? Karen stood there with that slow, evil smile. The kind of smile people get when they think they finally trapped you. Her arms folded, chin tilted, sunglasses low on her nose. Ranger growling under his breath beside me. "Enjoy your last days on this dock." Her voice carried this weird confidence. Like she had something signed, sealed, approved. Like she wasn't guessing. Like she knew. I lifted my mug. Took a long, slow sip. Mostly to annoy her. Partly to buy a few seconds. Because her tone felt different. This wasn't screaming. This wasn't her usual drama. This was planning. This was strategy. This was war mode. I said nothing at first. Just stared at her. Waiting. Letting her fill the silence. People like Karen crack if you let them talk long enough. And she did. She stepped closer. "Your property lines aren't as clear as you think. We found something. Something you should have known. Something you ignored." I raised a brow. "We." She smiled wider. "Yes, we. As in, the HOA, the board. People who actually care about community order." Ranger barked once. Like he was calling BS. "Good boy." I lowered my mug. "What exactly did you find?" Karen tapped her sunglasses. "Oh no. I can't spoil the surprise. You'll receive the paperwork soon. Just know, it's official. And it's not in your favor." Then she turned around. Walked away slowly, confidently. Like a villain in a movie who drops a bomb and strolls off in slow motion. Her ponytail swaying. Her perfume leaving a trail of trouble behind her. I watched her walk all the way back to her deck. My stomach tight. My brain spinning. Trying to guess what she meant. I knew my property lines. I had checked them dozens of times. Before I bought the place. After I built the dock. When Karen first complained months ago. Nothing was ever wrong. So what changed? What did she find? Or what did she fake? I scanned the lake. Calm, still, bright, beautiful. Then I glanced at Karen's house. Blinds shut. Drone parked on a landing pad she had installed on the railing. Like she was preparing for some HOA airstrike. I exhaled. Long. Frustrated. Not scared. Just tired of nonsense. Ranger nudged my leg. "Let's go, boy. We need answers." We went inside. I grabbed my property file. Maps. Surveys. Old documents. The original deed. Every paper I had collected over the years. Spread them across the table. Looked at each line. Each boundary. Each angle. Everything was the same. Solid. Clear. Undisputable. So either Karen was lying. Karen misunderstood. Karen was bluffing. Or Karen found a loophole. A tiny technicality. Something old. Something buried. Something she thought she could twist. I rubbed my forehead, thinking, trying to find anything she could use. 30 minutes later, my phone buzzed. HOA alert. A message from the board system. I opened it. A PDF downloaded. Then another. Then another. This wasn't normal. Normal HOA letters were short, annoying, threatening, full of bold red lines. This looked official. Like government-level official. The subject line hit like a punch. Easement review and shoreline adjustment notice. Easement. Shoreline. Adjustment. My heartbeat slowed. Not from fear. From concentration. Focus. Because I knew what an easement was. Access. Shared allowance. Pathways. Rights that let someone use a part of someone else's land. Most lakefront easements were old. Rare. Buried under old property records. Rarely used. Rarely activated. Unless someone found them, or claimed they found them, and pushed hard enough to make the HOA react. I opened the document. My eyes scanned fast. Lines. Numbers. Legal junk. Confusing paragraphs. Then I found it. The bomb. The thing Karen must have found. Or pretended to find. An old easement from 1978. Stating that a small strip of shoreline behind my property could be used for emergency lake access by the neighborhood. An easement nobody ever talked about. Never enforced. Never mentioned. Not by the county. Not by the previous owners. Not by neighbors. Not by the HOA. Until now. One small problem. The easement line didn't actually reach my dock. Not even close. It ended way before the dock begins. Meaning, the document didn't affect my property. Not legally. Not logically. Not even physically. But someone, some genius, probably Karen, had circled my dock anyway, and wrote, possible encroachment area. Pending review. I leaned back. Whispered. Unbelievable. Ranger whined. Even he knew it was nonsense. I kept reading. A letter from Attorney Lewis. The same one who called yesterday. Formally requesting that I cease exclusive use of disputed shoreline. Pending a full investigation. Disputed. They used the word disputed. Because Karen disputed it. Not because it actually was. I tapped the table with my finger. Thinking. Breathing slow. Trying not to get angry. Karen was weaponizing an old document. Twisting it. Stretching it. Forcing the HOA to treat it like a real concern. She was smart. I hate admitting it. But she was. Not honest. Not reasonable. Not stable. But she was strategic. Dangerous strategic. I stood up. Walked to the window. Looked at the lake. Trying to calm down. Then I saw her. Across the dock. Holding her phone. Pretending not to look at me. But totally looking at me. She smirked. Lifted her phone a little. Like she was filming. Or waiting for a reaction. I refused to give her one. Not yet. Not now. Not ever on her terms. Ranger barked. Twice. Low. Warning. Alert. Something was off. The hair on my arms rose. The kind of instinct you get when you sense trouble nearby. Even before it arrives. A noise buzzed behind me. Mechanical. High-pitched. Fast. A drone. Not one. Two. Both lifting off from Karen's deck. Both flying straight toward my dock. Low. Slow. Deliberate. I stepped outside. Stood on the porch. Watched them hover just above the planks. Cameras pointing straight at me. Like little metal detectives. Karen walked onto her deck. Hands on her hips. Smirk wide. Voice loud enough to cross the water. Smile, Mark. The HOA needs evidence. I clenched my jaw. Not out of fear. Out of pure disbelief. She was staging a show. Filming everything. Trying to catch me reacting badly. Trying to build her fake case. Trying to turn a quiet lake into a crime scene. Ranger stepped forward. Growling louder now. Protective. Alert. I held his collar. Easy, boy. She wants a reaction. We won't give it. But inside, my patience was cracking. Slow. Quiet. But cracking. I walked toward the end of the dock. Stood on the exact line where my property legally ended. And stared across the water at her. Karen shouted. You can't stop what's coming. You should have been nicer. You should have listened. Now the board will take this dock. Peace. Peace. Her voice echoed across the lake. Sharp. Confident. Way too confident. And then she said something that froze me. Something that revealed her real plan. Something she should not have said out loud. I already convinced 2 board members. You're outnumbered now. Just watch. I felt the ground shift inside my mind. Because that was it. The truth. The ugly truth. She wasn't fighting fair. She wasn't using rules. She wasn't following process. She was building alliances, whispering lies, stacking votes, manipulating people, turning the HOA into her personal weapon. She thought the board would take my dock. She thought she could force the HOA to claim the shoreline. She thought she won. I turned slowly, walked back toward the house. Ranger following close. I didn't react, didn't shout, didn't argue, didn't give her anything for her drones. But inside, deep inside, a fire lit. A quiet one. Controlled. Focused. Because I realized something important. Karen wasn't just bluffing anymore. She genuinely believed she had already won. And people who believe they've already won make the biggest mistakes. I looked at Ranger, scratched his head, and whispered, "Time to fight back. The right way. Be honest. Do you think Karen actually convinced the HOA board, or is she setting herself up for a massive embarrassment?" When I walked back into the house, I could still hear Karen's drones buzzing behind me, like two angry metal mosquitoes, hovering, recording, waiting for me to slip. Ranger stayed close to my leg, tail stiff, ears up. He didn't trust the air anymore. And honestly, neither did I. I closed the door, leaned against it, exhaled, slow, deep, trying to settle the heat in my chest. Karen thought she could beat me. Not with proof, not with facts, but with noise, drones, lies, influence. But I wasn't going down like that. Not a chance. I grabbed my laptop, set it on the table, pulled all the files together. The deed, the original survey, aerial maps from the county, historical photos of the shoreline, old HOA newsletters, everything I could use. Ranger jumped onto the couch, head tilted, watching me like he understood the whole mission. Good boy. We're building a case too. The more I looked at the documents, the clearer everything became. Karen was twisting an easement that didn't even reach my dock. It wasn't complicated. It wasn't confusing. It was simple. She was lying, aggressively, confidently, and the HOA was gullible enough to entertain her. Then my phone buzzed. Another HOA alert. I almost didn't want to look, but I did. Emergency HOA board meeting tonight. Attendance mandatory for involved parties. Mandatory for involved parties. Which obviously meant Karen and me. My jaw clenched. I clicked the link. The meeting details popped up. Location: Community Recreation Hall. Time: 7:30 p.m. Topic: Shoreline Violation Review and Property Dispute. Shoreline violation. They already named it a violation. Not alleged. Not claimed. Not questionable. Violation. Karen had gotten to them hard. Faster than I expected. Ranger whined. Soft. Sad. Like he felt the shift in the air. I sat down. Ran my hands over my face. Trying to think. Trying not to explode. I needed to prepare. Smart. Calm. Solid. I spent the next hour printing maps. Highlighting lines. Organizing everything into a binder. A thick one. Something that would show the board I wasn't coming empty-handed. When I finished, I heard something outside. Soft. Creaking. A faint scrape on the wood. Like someone was walking on the dock. I froze. Ranger lifted his head. Ears pointed. Then he growled. Low. Warning. I walked to the window. Pulled the curtain back just enough to look through. My heart jumped. A person. On my dock. Not Karen. Someone shorter. Older. Wearing a hoodie. Moving slow. My first instinct was trespasser. My second was Karen sent someone. But when the person turned slightly, I recognized him. Old Man Turner. My neighbor across the road. A quiet guy. Lived here forever. Barely talked. Always waved. Never caused trouble. I stepped outside. Ranger at my heel. Turner looked up. Eyes tired. Face lines deepened by years of dealing with this neighborhood. Mark. He said my name slowly, like he was choosing every word carefully. We need to talk. I walked closer. What's going on? You all right? He nodded once. Looked around, making sure no drones were nearby. Then he leaned closer. Lowered his voice. Karen came to my house. My stomach tightened. I expected that. But the way he said it felt off. Like there was more. He continued. She didn't ask. She barged in. Started talking about you. Started telling me the dock needs to be removed. Said it's ruining the neighborhood. Said you're making the lake unsafe. I rubbed the bridge of my nose. Of course she did. Turner sighed. Then she asked me a question. A strange one. I raised a brow. What question? He looked at the lake. Then at my house. Then back at me. She asked if I'd be willing to sign a statement against you. To help the HOA. Said it would fix the lake situation for everyone. I clenched my jaw. Hard. My teeth hurt. Karen wasn't just manipulating the board. She was going door to door, trying to collect signatures, trying to create a false majority, trying to manufacture outrage where none existed. I whispered, "Did you sign?" Turner snorted. "No. I may be old, but I'm not stupid. This community knows you. You help people. You fix things. You mind your business. Karen. She brings drama wherever she steps." I exhaled, relief loosening a knot in my chest. Turner continued, "I came to warn you. I think she's trying to push the board into voting tonight. Something about an emergency measure." My chest tightened again. An emergency measure. HOAs loved those. They let boards act fast, without full review, without giving homeowners time, without proper process. It meant Karen was trying to get the dock declared a violation. Permanently. Immediately. Before I had a chance to defend myself. I nodded. "Thank you, really, for telling me." Turner patted Ranger's head, then turned to leave. "Be careful. Karen is playing a dirty game." He limped slowly back to his house, and I stood there, hands on my hips, breathing hard. Karen was pushing fast, hard, reckless. She was desperate to win, which meant she was scared of something, either of losing or of being exposed. I looked at the binder, thick, heavy, full of truth. This was going to be war, in front of the board, in front of the whole neighborhood. I didn't want drama. I didn't want enemies. I didn't want conflict. But Karen pushed me, until fighting back became the only option. Ranger nudged me. "Let's go, boy. We've got a meeting to attend." By the time I arrived at the recreation hall, the parking lot was fuller than usual. Lights glowing through the windows. Shadows moving inside. People were gathering, talking, whispering, watching. Drama spreads fast in this place, especially when Karen is involved. I walked inside. Ranger stayed in the truck. He would have barked at Karen and created the scene she wanted. The room was buzzing. Some people waved at me. Others whispered when I passed. Karen stood in the front, talking to Becky, laughing, hand over her chest, pretending to be stressed, pretending to be the victim. Then she saw me. Her smile sharpened, like she had been waiting for this moment. She walked toward me, slow, dragging each step like she was on a runway. She stopped 2 feet away, smirked, tilted her head. "Big binder, I see. Trying to look professional." I gave her a flat stare. Trying to hide lies behind sunglasses doesn't make you smart. Her smile cracked for half a second, then returned, tighter, sharper. She leaned in, whispered, "Do whatever you want. This ends tonight. You will lose. And when the board votes, everyone will see I was right." I stepped closer, so she could hear my voice clearly. "Karen, you don't want to win. You want attention. You want control. And you want drama so badly you're willing to burn the truth to ash." She blinked, only once, her jaw tightening. Then the board president stepped up, cleared his throat. "Meeting will begin in 2 minutes. All parties please take their seats." Karen smirked, walked away, moved to her spot in the front row. Her drones were gone, but her confidence was buzzing just as loud. I sat down near the middle, binder on my lap, hands steady, mind calmer than I expected. Because I knew something Karen didn't know. Something important. Truth doesn't panic. Truth doesn't wobble. Truth doesn't fear someone like Karen. But Karen feared truth. That's why she tried so hard to bury it under noise. The room settled. The president began speaking. And the meeting officially started. If you were sitting in that meeting, would you trust Karen's confidence, or would you trust the guy holding actual proof? The meeting started with that fake calm HOA voice. The kind that sounds polite on the surface, but underneath it is pressure, politics, whispers, decisions already forming, sides already taken. I sat still, binder in my lap, breathing slow, watching everybody, every movement, every glance. Karen sat in the front row, legs crossed, hands folded like she was at a spa, sunglasses pushed up on her head, lip gloss shiny, smiling at people who didn't even look at her. She loved attention, even the kind built on lies. Maybe especially that kind. The board president, Mr. Hudson, cleared his throat again. Tonight's emergency meeting has been called to address a shoreline violation. Violation. Again. They kept using that word. Like it was already proven. Like Karen had written the script and they were acting it out. Karen straightened in her chair. Head tipped slightly. Ready. Hungry. Hudson continued. This involves the dock located behind Mark's property. All eyes turned toward me. Some concerned. Some curious. Some excited like they were watching a TV show. Karen didn't look at me. Not directly. But I saw her smirk. Small. Confident. Sharp. Hudson spoke. We will begin with statements from the concerned party. Concerned party. That meant Karen. Of course. She stood up slowly, like she was stepping into a spotlight. Tucked a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. Cleared her throat in that overly dramatic way. And then she began. Acting innocent. Acting victimized. Acting like she was the hero of the lake. I am not here to attack anyone. She said that while glancing at me. Making sure others saw the hurt neighbor routine. I only want fairness. Safety. Order. Someone in the back coughed. It sounded like a laugh they tried to hide. She kept going. For months now. We have had concerns about the dock on Mark's property. It extends into an area that may be part of our shared community shoreline. She paused. Let that word sink in. Community. She continued. The HOA cannot ignore such an issue. Especially when multiple neighbors feel blocked from lake access. Multiple. She said it confidently. Even though I knew for a fact she only had herself. She pointed softly toward the board. I simply want the rules followed. The lake protected. And fairness restored. Fairness. That word coming from Karen felt like a crime. She sat down slowly. Delicate. Controlled. Looking at the board like she expected applause. Becky nodded rapidly. Like she had been hypnotized. Hudson turned to me. Mark. You may respond. I stood up. Calm. Hands loose. Binder under my arm. I didn't rush. Didn't shake. Didn't raise my voice. I walked forward slowly. Stopped at the center. Looked around the room. Looked at familiar faces. Neighbors I had helped. Neighbors I had known for years. And then I spoke. I'm not here to fight anyone. I'm here to tell the truth. The room went quiet. Quieter than I expected. I opened the binder. Flipped it once. Held up the first map. This, right here, is my property survey from the county. Stamped. Verified. Approved. I pointed to the shoreline line. Clear. Sharp. Undeniable. My dock sits entirely, completely, on my land. I moved to the next page. This is an aerial map. 5 years old. Before Karen moved in. Dock is here. Same spot. Same size. No changes. Some whispers rose in the room. People nodding. Understanding. Seeing the facts. I flipped again. Held up a copy of the 1978 easement. This is what Karen found. It is real. But it does not apply to my dock. Not even close. I traced the easement line with my finger. It ended far before my property. It pointed to an emergency path nobody had used in 40 years. I handed copies to the board. Let them see the truth up close. And then I said, this easement has nothing to do with my land. Karen knows that. But she is still using it to create confusion. To create a case. To create conflict. Karen shifted in her chair. Her mask cracked for half a second. Then she forced it back on. I continued. The only person complaining is Karen. No one else. Not one neighbor has an issue. Turner cleared his throat from the back. Loud. Supporting me. Backing me. I nodded gently at him. Then looked at the board again. I have lived here 7 years. No trouble. No violations. No disputes. Until she moved in. Karen stiffened. Leg tightened. Jaw twitching. I said it slow. Clear. Focused. This is not about shoreline. This is not about the lake. This is not about rules. This is about Karen wanting something that is not hers. Silence. Not angry silence. Not confused silence. Real silence. Truthful silence. Hudson blinked. Looked at the maps. Then at Karen. Then back at me. Before he could speak. Karen jumped up. He's twisting it. She pointed at me. Finger shaking. He's making himself look innocent. He's dangerous. He's been harassing me. Hudson raised a hand. Karen, please. We will allow you to speak again after review. She froze. Mouth open. Like a door stuck halfway. That didn't happen often. Karen being told to wait. I kept standing. Calm. Steady. Not moved by her burst. Hudson exhaled. We need a moment to review these documents. The board huddled, looked through everything, pointed, whispered, argued softly. Karen watched them like a hawk, chest rising fast, arms crossed, foot tapping, her confidence slipping, piece by piece. I watched her carefully, the shift in her posture, the panic behind her eyes, the way she kept looking at the doorway, like she was hoping someone else would walk in and rescue her. But no one did. After 5 minutes, which felt like 30, Hudson turned back around. He cleared his throat, but this time, his tone had changed. It wasn't confident. It wasn't neutral. It was embarrassed. Mark's documents show no violation. His dock is within his boundary. The easement does not touch his property, and no community access was ever assigned to his shoreline. The room seemed to exhale, like everyone had been holding their breath. Turner nodded. A few neighbors mumbled. Knew it. Karen's eyes went wide. Shock. Then anger. Then panic. All at once. She stepped forward. No. You're missing something. He's hiding something. He's manipulating. Hudson raised his hand again. Karen, please sit. Your concerns appear to be based on a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. The HOA version of. You're wrong. She didn't sit. She froze. Hands trembling. Lips shaking. Her voice dropped to a whisper. This isn't fair. You weren't supposed to believe him. You were supposed to fix this. You were supposed to fix the lake. You were supposed to fix him. Fix me. That one hit weird. Dangerous weird. Obsessive weird. I stepped back slightly, just in case she snapped. Hudson spoke firmly. This matter is closed. No violation. No further action. Karen shook her head, stepped backward, then forward, like she didn't know where reality was anymore. She pointed at me, voice cracking. You think you won. You think this is over. It's not. It's never over. People looked at her, concerned now, not supportive, not admiring. For the first time, Karen looked small, like the control she lived on had been ripped from her hands. She stormed toward the exit, fast, angry, eyes shiny, lip trembling, slammed the door so hard the windows rattled. Silence, heavy, uncomfortable, lingering. Hudson sighed. Meeting adjourned. Everyone please go home calmly. People started leaving, mumbling, whispering, some patting my shoulder as they passed, some shaking their heads at Karen's meltdown. I picked up my binder, walked toward the exit, breathing a little easier, but then I stopped, right at the doorway, because something hit me, hard, cold, real. Karen didn't take losing well. She didn't take embarrassment well. She didn't take being exposed well. This wasn't the end. Not by a long shot. Ranger wagged his tail when I reached the truck. Happy. As if the battle was won. But I looked at the dark road ahead. The lake behind us. The trees shifting softly. The empty space where Karen had walked moments ago. And I wondered, what was she going to do next? If someone like Karen lost publicly, do you think they'd back down, or come back even crazier? When I pulled out of the recreation hall that night, I expected to feel relief. A clean weight lifted. A normal ride home. But something felt wrong. Heavy, sharp, unsettled. The board clearing me should have ended everything. But Karen wasn't built like that. She wasn't the lose and go home quietly type. She was the lose and flip the whole neighborhood upside down type. Ranger sat in the passenger seat, head low, ears twitching. He kept glancing back toward the hall, like he expected Karen to run after us with her drones. I patted his head. Let's just get home, boy. We made it through one fire. We'll handle the next one too. The lake was dark when we arrived. Moonlight sliding across the water. Air cold. Still. Too still. When I stepped out of the truck, Ranger froze. Ears up. Nose pointed toward the dock. I felt it too. That weird pull. Like something was waiting. We walked slowly, carefully. The gravel crunching under my boots. Each step louder than it needed to be. The moment I saw the dock, my stomach tightened. A shadow. Something long. Something tall. Something that didn't belong. I flicked on my flashlight. The beam cut through the dark. And there it was. A giant stake. Hammered into the ground. Right beside the start of my dock. With a laminated notice zip-tied to it. I stepped closer. Ranger growling now. The notice read, temporary restriction. Shoreline under review. No personal use until further notice. Stamped with an HOA logo. But the logo was crooked. Pixelated. Badly printed. A fake. Obviously fake. Karen level fake. I whispered. She made her own restrictions. Ranger snarled. He knew trouble when he smelled it. I took a picture. Then another. Documenting everything. Because Karen's lies always looked better on paper than in reality. Then I heard something. A whisper of movement. A branch snapping. Coming from the side of the property. Near the tree line where her yard and mine almost touch. I turned the flashlight. Slow. A shadow moved. Then froze. Thin. Tall. Feminine. Karen. She was standing halfway behind a tree. Watching. Barely visible. But visible enough that her presence dug into my spine. You should read the notice. She said it loud enough for the sound to carry. But soft enough that it felt like a threat instead of advice. I exhaled harshly. Karen. Go back to your house. She stepped out a little more. Hands clasped in front. Like she was delivering a sermon. This isn't personal. This is community safety. I pointed at the sign. This is fake. The board cleared me tonight. You lost. Her eyes twitched. Just for a moment. Just enough to see her crack. Then she smiled. Soft. Creepy. Wrong. The meeting didn't end anything. You don't understand how this works. There are procedures. There are appeals. There are steps you don't know about. I laughed once. Short. Cold. You're making it up as you go. She tilted her head. Mark. You keep thinking the board is the only authority. But HOAs are layers. So many layers. Some people know how to use them. Some don't. I felt the anger building. Like heat in my chest. Like smoke under my ribs. I stepped forward. Not aggressive. Just firm. Karen. You trespassed. You put this fake sign up. And you came onto my property again. If you try one more stunt, I will file a restraining order. Her smile faded. Jaw tightening. Eyes sharpening. Then she whispered. You won't get that chance. Those words. Something in them. Something cold. Something calculated. Something not normal. She turned. Walked away. Slow. Calm. Too calm. And Ranger growled until she disappeared behind the trees. I stood there. Breathing hard. Feeling the night close in around me. Feeling something shift. Something deeper than annoyance. Something dangerous. I ripped the fake notice off the stake. Tossed it on the deck. Took the whole wooden stake out of the ground. Threw it aside. Then I went inside. Locked the door. Double-checked the windows. Turned on the porch light. Even though I never did that. Ranger paced for a while. Couldn't settle. Just like me. I sat at the table. Hands pressed to my forehead. Thinking. Planning. Trying to stay ahead of whatever insanity she was building. Around 3 a.m. I fell asleep on the couch. But not for long. Because at sunrise, Ranger barked. Loud. Urgent. Sharp. The kind of bark he only uses when something is wrong. I jumped up. Heart pounding. Ran to the window. And saw it. Saw the next level of her madness. My dock. My quiet morning dock. Had a new sign on it. Big. Bright red letters. HOA official zone. No pets. No boats. No owner privileges. Owner privileges. As if I was the stranger. As if she was the owner. I stormed outside. Barefoot. Still half awake. Ranger sprinting ahead. When I reached the dock, my jaw dropped. The sign wasn't the only thing there. Someone. Not a neighbor. Not the HOA. Someone wearing a yellow reflective vest. Was walking away from the dock. Holding a toolkit. Heading back toward Karen's yard. I shouted. Hey, who are you? The person kept walking. Didn't look back. I shouted again. What are you doing on my property? They paused. Just slightly. Then hurried faster. Straight into Karen's backyard. Where she stood waiting. Arms folded. Watching me. Karen smirked. You're trespassing on restricted shoreline. He was restoring order. I pointed. That person isn't HOA. Who is he? She shrugged. Maybe someone who finally cares about keeping this place safe. Not everyone likes chaos, Mark. Chaos. She said that while causing it. My voice dropped low. You hired someone to do this. Didn't you? She smiled. The slow, evil smile. The one she used when she knew she crossed a line. And didn't care. This is bigger than you. You don't make the rules. You just break them. I stepped closer. Careful. Calm. Controlled. Karen. If you don't take that sign down. Right now. I will call the sheriff. Again. Her smile vanished. She didn't like that word. Sheriff. Reality. Accountability. She turned around. Walked inside. Slamming her door. Coward. But dangerous coward. I took the sign down myself. threw it into the yard. Ranger barked at it, like even he knew the thing was cursed. And as I stood there, breathing hard, heart racing, looking across the lake, at the quiet houses, the calm water, the rising sun, I realized something cold, something unavoidable. Karen wasn't spiraling. She was escalating, step by step, lie by lie, action by action. She wasn't going to stop. Not with warnings, not with meetings, not with police, not with logic. She wanted one thing: the lakefront, my dock, my land, and she would burn the whole neighborhood to get it. I rubbed my face, exhaled, and whispered, "What's her next move? If your neighbor went this far, would you confront them again, or start planning real legal action?" The sun kept rising that morning, but the neighborhood didn't feel bright, didn't feel warm, didn't feel normal. It felt tight, wrapped, coiled, like the whole place was holding its breath, waiting for whatever Karen was going to do next. I stood on the dock for a while, barefoot, cold wood under me, Ranger pacing beside me, sniffing the air like danger had a smell he could track. The fake sign lay in the grass, smashed, bent, ugly, like the whole situation. I picked it up, turned it over, looked at the cheap plastic, the sloppy handwriting, the fake HOA stamp she printed at home. Not official, not valid, not legal, just a symptom of her losing control. I tossed it aside, walked back toward the house. But I didn't make it far, because my phone buzzed. A call. Unknown number again. Same tone, same timing. I knew who it was before I answered. Attorney Lewis. I sighed, pressed the phone to my ear. Yeah. His voice came sharp, tense, different from last time. Mark, I've received several new reports from my client. I closed my eyes. Of course you have. What now? He hesitated, then said it slowly, as if even he didn't believe the words he was reading. She claims you destroyed HOA property and threatened her life. I stopped walking, just froze, right there on the lawn, because the accusation was so far from reality. It almost made my brain short-circuit. Threatened her life. Destroyed HOA property. Me. The guy who fixes boats for old neighbors. The guy who hands out coffee on the dock. The guy who never raises his voice. I laughed once, but it wasn't a real laugh. It was disbelief. Deep, tired, annoyed. She made that up. None of that happened. Lewis sighed. I suspected as much. Her reports aren't lining up. They're emotional, erratic. Good. Someone else was finally seeing what I saw. But then he continued. However, I'm obligated to notify you that she intends to seek a temporary protective order. I rubbed my forehead. A protective order. Against me. The guy she keeps trespassing on. I said the words slow. So slow they almost sank. She was the one on my dock at 2 in the morning. She put fake signs here. She hired someone to come onto my property. He cut me off. I can't take sides, but I suggest you gather evidence. She appears unstable. The call ended. No comfort, no clarity, just another fire added to the pile. I lowered the phone, stared at the ground. Let the anger hit. Let the frustration hit. Let the disbelief hit. And then I felt it. Something shift inside me. Quietly, like a gear clicking into place. This wasn't about a dock anymore, or a shoreline, or property lines. This was about my safety, my peace, my home. Karen had crossed the line from annoying to dangerous, to unpredictable. And unpredictable people don't stop. Not on their own. Ranger pressed his head against my knee, like he knew the moment was heavy. I scratched his fur. Let's end this, buddy. The right way. I drove to the county office. Documents in hand. Pictures. Videos. Every map. Every notice. Every fake sign. I told them everything. Every trespass. Every drone. Every late-night stunt. Every false accusation. Every threat. They weren't surprised. Karen's name came up before. Apparently several times. Different conflicts. Different neighbors. Same pattern. The clerk frowned. This isn't a boundary issue. It's harassment. And it's escalating. You should file a restraining request immediately. So I did. Filled out the form. Explained everything. Signed the papers. The whole thing felt unreal. Like I was writing a story about someone else. When I walked out, the air felt lighter, clearer, almost hopeful. But peace never lasts long with Karen. Because when I got home, there she was, on her deck, arms crossed, staring, not yelling, not smirking, Not smiling, just staring, like she already knew, like she felt the shift, like she sensed the momentum leaving her hands. I walked past her, calm, quiet, focused, didn't say a word. That made her twitch. She hated silence. She hated losing spotlight. She hated not being the one controlling the moment. Then she snapped, her voice cutting the air. You think a piece of paper is going to stop me? I stopped, turned slowly, looked at her. Her hair messy, her eyes wild, her face pale with anger. I didn't raise my voice, didn't step toward her, didn't match her chaos. I simply said, Karen, I'm done. No more warnings. No more patience. No more letting you in my space. You step onto my dock again. You touch anything on my land. You send anyone. And you'll be dealing with law. Not me. She shook her head, fast, like trying to rattle loose her thoughts. You can't do this. You can't win. You can't. I cut her off. I already did. Last night. And today. She froze. Still. Like someone hit pause on her. For a moment. Just a moment. The real Karen showed. Not the loud one. Not the petty one. Not the dramatic one. The scared one. She whispered. This neighborhood is mine. I'm fixing it. I'm saving it. Saving it. From what? Me. The guy drinking coffee on his dock. I stepped back. Not afraid. Just done. I don't need to convince you. Reality will. Then I walked inside. Closed the door. Locked it. Ranger sat in front of me. Tail thumping lightly. Almost relieved. I knelt down. Scratched his ears. We're good, boy. We're safe. She can scream all she wants. But she can't come here anymore. The next morning, I got the call. The restraining order was approved. Temporary. Immediate. Karen would be served by the sheriff. Within the hour, I looked out the window. Toward her house. Her blinds still shut. Her yard empty. No drones. No shoes. No shadows. Peace. Finally. Real peace. For the first time in weeks. I sat on my dock. Coffee warm in my hands. Ranger lying beside me. Lake calm. Water bright. Birds flying low across the surface. And it felt normal again. Like the lake could breathe. Like I could breathe. Then, around noon, a sheriff's car pulled into her driveway. I watched from a distance. Not with joy. Not with revenge. Not with satisfaction. Just relief. She opened the door. Hair messy. Robe twisted. Eyes wide. The deputy spoke softly. Handed her the papers. She froze. Then looked across the lake at me. But this time, she didn't yell. She didn't point. She didn't smirk. She just closed the door. Quietly. Slowly. Defeated. And that was it. No drones. No signs. No trespassing. No midnight stunts. Just silence. A healthy silence. A silence the lake deserved. I took a deep breath. Let it out slow. Felt the weight finally slip off my shoulders. It was over. Really over. Not because she accepted it. But because the law accepted it. Because the truth stood. Because her lies collapsed under their own weight. Ranger nudged my hand. Wanting attention. Wanting a treat. Wanting a normal day. I laughed. A real laugh. Finally. Yeah, buddy. We can relax now. The lake is ours again. And even though the whole mess left a mark, I learned something. Something sharp. Something useful. HOA drama isn't about rules. It's about people. And some people don't want peace. They want control. But when you stand firm, when you stay calm, when you document everything, truth wins. Even against a Karen. And the lake. My dock. My mornings. My peace. They're staying right here. Where they belong. If you were in my place, would you forgive someone like Karen someday, or keep them out of your life forever?